Hi, my name is Lindsay, and this is my assistant Bambi. Today, I'm going to show you a rolling sequence you can do to help loosen up your quad muscles, the front of your thighs, and also you might need a yoga block for one of the stretches towards the end. The yoga block is optional. Once we're ready, let's talk about the quads for a moment. So the quads, obviously quad means four. We're going to focus on three of the main outer lying muscles of the quad. So the center muscle runs really down the center from the middle of the hip to the knee. That's your rectus femoris. On the outside, there's a section of the quads called the vastus lateralis. And on the inside, there's the vastus medialis. So we're going to try to hit all three of those while we roll. We'll also hit into the IT band just a little bit with the foam roller, and let's get started. So we'll start on the foam roller. You want to find yourself on one leg to start, and we'll begin with the leg totally parallel. You'll be on the forearms, just making sure you're holding the abdominals here. And just very slowly, about an inch per second, you're going to roll from the hip all the way down to right above the kneecap. So we're starting at the very parallel part of the leg. And you can do this as many times as you would like, as feels good. And when you're coming back up towards the hip, let's stop halfway, keeping the foot really relaxed. Slowly bend the knee and straighten the leg. And that might become really intense. We'll do one more, bend the knee. And then just start to span the foot side to side. So a little windshield wiper action there. And that's just spanning around the muscle fibers. You would extend the leg. We'll go all the way back up to the hip here. Now you're going to go a little bit pigeon-toed. So you're turning the toes in slightly. And we're rolling down and up the vastus lateralis, so the outer part of the quads here. And you're just moving really slowly, trying to allow the muscles to relax into the roller. So as you're rolling, you're trying to not grip the muscles. You're trying to allow the roller to stretch the muscles here. So essentially, rolling is just a form of massage. So we're getting extra blood flow into the muscle groups here, and also just working through the fascia tissue. So the fascia is kind of like a net that goes around all of our muscles. And it's connective tissue, and it's all connected throughout our body. So if any of those areas become pulled up and tight, it's going to affect other areas. It's kind of like a knotted ball of yarn. So you want to make sure that that fascia is tracking smoothly. Once you've reached back up to your hip, we're going to turn the leg slightly out. And again, you can do this more than once. I'm just showing once today. Now your toes are slightly turned out, your heels dropping in, and we're going up that inner part of the quad here. And again, you're trying to move slowly, trying to allow the muscles to relax. You are holding your core. You are engaged on your upper body. So you're supporting your low back. And then slowly rolling back to the hip here. Once you've reached your hip, we'll do one more thing on this leg today. You'll go all the way to the side. You can hit between the hip bone and that greater trochanter, which is part of your thigh bone. And you can take a moment there in your hip if you like, just because it feels good. And then once you're ready, go over that thigh bone, and we'll go down to the side of the leg, trying to keep the hips fully stacked. So if you go a little bit forward or a little bit back, you're going to be back in that vastus lateralis, or you'll be a little bit into the hamstring. And we're just trying to stay on the side of the leg today. So slowly rolling here. And this one can be really intense for a lot of people, especially if you're a runner. And then slowly rolling back. Awesome. Let's go to the other side. We're going to do the same exact thing. Second side, and then we'll stretch it all out. So again, going onto the forearm, starting with the roller right underneath the hip, relaxed leg, and just keeping the leg fully parallel. The knee is soft. You're not engaging the leg super straight here. You're relaxed in the leg muscles as much as possible, and just slowly going down to the knee. Breathing in the spots that might feel intense, or if you feel it jump over like knotted kind of area, just seeing if you can hold there for a moment and allow the nervous system kind of to absorb this stretch that you're getting. And once you're about halfway back up towards your hip, we'll slowly bend the knee, That could feel really intense there. See if you can keep the foot relaxed and slowly straighten. And we'll do one more time, slowly bend, and then windshield wiper going side to side. Spanning around the sides of those muscle fibers. You would extend the leg and go all the way back up to the hip. We'll turn that leg in slightly. So now you're in the quad that's on the furthest outside of that thigh. And we're slowly rolling up that area. Especially if you have knee pain. Sometimes knee pain comes from a tight quad muscle. So sometimes people get really worried that it's, your MCL, your ACL, your meniscus, all those things that are in there, which is that, obviously check with your doctor if you feel like something serious is going on. But sometimes if you can get the quad muscles to release, the pressure in that knee joint will be able to release. Once you've reached all the way back to the hip, we'll turn out here. Last one on the front of the leg here, and now we're on the inner part of the quad. Because if certain areas of these muscles are pulling on a joint, you're going to feel it maybe in the joint. The joint may not, and sometimes it is the problem, but it may not be the problem. Sometimes the problem is somewhere in a different part of the body, and that fascia is just pulling on another area, and that's where you're feeling the pain, is where it's being pulled. Last thing we'll do on the roller today, going into, again, side of the leg. We'll start in this side of the hip, so just going between these 2 points of the top hip bone and that little bony part of the outside of the leg, the greater trochanter, and just give yourself a moment on the hip here before we move to the IT band. And then go ahead, go over that bone and go straight to the side. Now the IT band, there's a lot of different theories about whether or not to roll at all on the muscles or roll specifically on the IT band. For myself, from personal experience as a professional dancer and a professional fitness and yoga instructor, I've found that clients and myself have really benefited from a little bit of pressure. It's the same concept as massage, and sometimes we just need some blood flow in there. Whereas sometimes people believe that you're just kind of jamming into those muscles, but I think it's about intention and also listening to your body. For one person's body, it might feel great and it might be really helpful, and somebody else's it might not feel so great. So listen to your body when it comes to rolling, especially when it comes to the IT band. I'm going to show a couple different quad stretches here. So we'll start stretching the left front of the leg, or whichever one you rolled first. I rolled my left one first. We'll start in a lunge here, taking that front foot right over, the front knee right over the ankle. And you can stay here. Another option would be to tuck the back toes straight in the back leg, or if you like, you reach back with the opposite hand and see if you can pull that foot in towards you. Whichever position you're going to hold, we're just going to take a couple slow breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. Continuing to feel the length. Now, if you are pulling that heel in towards the seat, notice where it's naturally tracking. I'm pulling it right into the center of the glute here, so that's going to be stretching primarily the rectus femoris, that center quadriceps. But if you notice when you're rolling that there was another area, maybe the outside of the leg or the inside of the leg was feeling a lot of tightness, maybe you go slightly to the inside, slightly towards the center of both glutes, or maybe slightly to the outside of that leg, and just notice how it changes and what feels good for your body. They're all relevant. You can continue to hold a couple more breaths, or if you're ready, join me all the way onto your stomach here. And I'm going to give you 2 options for this next one. Go ahead, rest your forehead on the hands. Same leg that we were just stretching, you can pull that heel in towards the glute. We're going to continue to pull the abdominals up and away from the floor. If you get into this and it feels totally fine, if you want to increase the stretch, I'm going to face the other way, you're going to use a block. If you're using the block, you're placing the block slightly below the hip flexor. Same exact position, making sure to not dump into the low back here, but continuing to pull the abdominals up. And then we'll pull that foot in, and it just increases the angle of that stretch through the front of the leg. And we'll just stay here and breathe for a couple moments. And again, maybe you talk about, or you experiment with, pulling the heel towards the center, the glute, or towards the outside of the hip, and see how that changes, where maybe you're needing more of a stretch today. And then go ahead, gently release. Coming off of that, and we'll do the same things on the other side. So whichever side you did, we'll reverse. Your options are to be just in the simple lunge into that lizard position. You could do the runner's lunge with the tucked back toe and the straight back leg, or you reach back with that opposite hand and see if you want to pull that foot in towards you. And you might notice one hip has more stretch than the other. One quad is longer. We're often born with muscles that on one side are just naturally easier to stretch than the other side, and that's totally okay. And just breathe wherever you are. Exhaling fully. And again, just trying to keep the nervous system as calm as possible. So that's where that breathing comes into play. If you can kind of slow the breathing, it tricks your nervous system into believing that you're totally safe in this moment, which you are. But sometimes that fight or flight kicks in when the muscle stretches feel intense. And if we can just remind the body you're totally safe, everything's okay, it's more likely that the stretches will take and you'll get benefits from them. Again, let's do the same stretch on your stomach on the second side. We'll go to the stomach, insert just with the simple stretch, and pulling that heel in towards the hip, making sure that the knee is not out to the side here, but it's really down underneath the shoulder. And again, if this feels fine, then maybe you try adding that block. And we're going an inch or two right below the hip flexor here. Continuing to pull the abdominals up. Same stretch if you're on the block. And just breathing here, inhaling, exhaling, continuing to pull the navel away from the floor, keeping the hips even. One more big breath here. And gently release from where you are. And finding your way to a comfortable seat. I hope your quads feel fabulous. Have a great day. Namaste.